Jonathan Sterling shifted uncomfortably in his first-class seat, trying unsuccessfully to soothe his 6-month-old daughter, Lily, whose cries had been echoing through the aircraft cabin for the better part of an hour. At 38, the tech mogul was accustomed to solving problems with efficiency and resources, but nothing in his business experience had prepared him for single parenthood. Since his wife, Catherine, had passed away from complications following childbirth, Jonathan had struggled to understand Lily's needs. He had hired the best nannies money could buy, consulted with pediatricians, and read countless parenting books, but his daughter remained largely a mystery to him. "Sir," the flight attendant said with barely concealed irritation, "is there anything we can do to help quiet the baby? Other passengers are beginning to complain." Jonathan looked around the first-class cabin, noting the disapproving glances and whispered comments from fellow travelers. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice strained with exhaustion and embarrassment. "I've tried everything. Bottle, diaper change, walking, rocking. Nothing seems to work." The flight attendant's expression suggested she found his parenting skills lacking. "Perhaps you should have considered whether air travel was appropriate for such a young child." Jonathan felt heat rise in his cheeks. He was traveling to a crucial business meeting that couldn't be postponed, and he had no choice but to bring Lily with him. From her seat in row 12, 16-year-old Maya Patel had been listening to the baby's distressed crying with growing concern. Unlike the other passengers who seemed annoyed by the sound, Maya recognized something specific in the baby's cries that the father appeared to be missing. Maya had grown up as the eldest of 4 children in a large, extended family where babies were a constant presence. More importantly, she had spent summers helping her aunt, a pediatric nurse, care for infants with various needs. She understood that not all crying was the same, and this particular cry suggested something specific that basic comfort measures weren't addressing. Maya looked toward the first-class section, where she could see the well-dressed man holding his red-faced daughter with the careful uncertainty of someone still learning how to be a parent. Every few minutes he would try a different approach, but his movements were tentative and anxious, which Maya knew babies could sense. The crying continued for another 10 minutes, growing more desperate and causing visible distress to both father and child. Other passengers were beginning to make increasingly hostile comments, and Maya could see the man's shoulders sagging with defeat and embarrassment. Finally, Maya made a decision that would have seemed impossible for her normally shy personality. She unbuckled her seatbelt and walked toward the front of the plane. "Excuse me," she said quietly as she approached Jonathan's seat. "I'm Maya. I couldn't help but notice your baby is having a hard time. May I take a look?" Jonathan looked up at the teenager with surprise and desperation. "Are you experienced with babies?" "I've helped care for my younger siblings and cousins since I was little," Maya replied softly. "And I've spent time with my aunt who's a pediatric nurse. Sometimes babies cry for reasons that aren't obvious." Jonathan hesitated for a moment, then handed Lily to Maya with the relief of someone who had exhausted all his options. What happened next amazed everyone within view. Maya held Lily against her chest, but instead of trying to quiet her immediately, she listened carefully to the baby's cries while gently feeling around her tiny mouth with a clean finger. "I think she might be in pain from ear pressure," Maya said quietly to Jonathan. "The way she's pulling at her ear and the pitch of her cry suggests the altitude change is bothering her. Also, she's showing signs of being overstimulated by all the activity around her." Maya adjusted her position, creating a small, quiet space with her body while gently massaging the area around Lily's ears with practiced movements her aunt had taught her. She began humming a soft, rhythmic tune that she had learned worked well with fussy infants. Within minutes, Lily's desperate crying began to subside into whimpering, and then to quiet snuffles as she nestled against Maya's shoulder. "How did you do that?" Jonathan asked in amazement. Maya continued her gentle motions while explaining in whispers. "Babies often get ear pain during flights because they can't equalize the pressure like adults can. The massage helps, and creating a calm, quiet environment reduces overstimulation. Also, sometimes babies just need to feel completely secure, like they're being held by someone who's confident about caring for them." "But I'm her father," Jonathan said, a note of sadness in his voice. "Why doesn't she settle like that for me?" Maya looked at Jonathan with the wisdom of someone who had observed many new parents. "Mr. Sterling." Jonathan Sterling. "Mr. Sterling, parenting is a skill that develops over time. Your baby can sense when you're anxious or uncertain, which makes her more anxious too. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that confidence with babies comes from experience." As if to demonstrate Maya's point, Lily had fallen completely asleep in the teenager's arms. Her tiny fist curled against Maya's shoulder. "Would you mind if I asked you a few questions about her routine?" Maya said quietly. "Sometimes small adjustments can make a big difference." Over the next 20 minutes, Maya gently questioned Jonathan about Lily's feeding schedule, sleep patterns, and daily routine. Her questions revealed several areas where small changes might help both father and daughter. "Mr. Sterling," Maya said softly, "I think part of the challenge might be that you're trying to do everything perfectly, which creates tension that babies pick up on. They actually prefer calm confidence over perfect technique." Jonathan listened intently as Maya shared simple techniques she had learned, how to read different types of cries, ways to create calming environments, and most importantly, how to trust his own instincts as a parent. "You clearly love your daughter very much," Maya observed. "That's the most important thing. Everything else can be learned." As the flight continued, Maya gradually transferred Lily back to Jonathan, coaching him through the process and helping him understand his daughter's cues. Under Maya's gentle guidance, Jonathan began to relax, and remarkably, so did Lily. When they landed, Jonathan felt transformed. For the first time since Catherine's death, he had experienced a flight where Lily had been calm and content in his arms. "Maya," he said as they gathered their belongings, "I can't thank you enough. You've given me something invaluable." Maya smiled shyly. "I'm just glad I could help. Babies are amazing once you understand their language." Jonathan pulled out his business card. "Maya, I don't know what your career plans are, but if you're ever interested in early childhood development or pediatric care, I'd be honored to help support your education." Maya looked at the card with surprise. "Mr. Sterling, that's incredibly generous, but I was just doing what felt right." "Exactly," Jonathan replied. "You have a natural gift for understanding what children need, and the world needs more people with your instincts and compassion." 6 months later, Maya received a scholarship to study early childhood development funded by the Sterling Foundation. The scholarship came with a note from Jonathan. "Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the greatest expertise comes not from books or degrees, but from an open heart and genuine understanding. Lily and I will never forget your kindness." As Maya read the letter, she reflected on how a single act of reaching out to help a struggling parent had opened doors she never could have imagined. She had learned that sometimes the most profound impact comes from simply offering what you have to give, regardless of how young you are or how insignificant your contribution might seem. Jonathan, meanwhile, had grown into the confident father he had always wanted to be, understanding that parenting was less about having all the answers and more about approaching his daughter with patience, love, and the willingness to keep learning. And Lily, now a happy, thriving toddler, had no memory of that difficult flight, but would grow up benefiting from the relationship of trust and understanding that had begun when a shy teenager showed her father that sometimes the best help comes from the most unexpected sources.